My name is Allison, and I'm a Thrive Guide here at BrightlyThrive, and I am going to be talking about topics that have to do with physical and or emotional detoxification. Today, I'm going to be talking about more on the emotional side of things and more of like mindset things that deal with also emotions, especially if you're newly diagnosed with an autoimmune disease or kind of feeling stuck and frustrated with things. So the topic of today that I'm going to be talking about is 3 ways that you can take your power back when you have an autoimmune disease. So I'm going to be giving a little bit of some tough love, but I'm going to be also giving you some tools and strategies that can help you to kind of shift perspective over what's happening in your body and how we see ourselves and other people around us when we have autoimmune disease. There's 3 different people that I'm going to be teaching you about taking your power back with when you have autoimmune disease, how you can take your power back with doctors and practitioners that you may be working with. I'm going to talk about how you can take your power back with yourself and how you identify with yourself, how you can take your power back with friends and family when you have autoimmune disease. You can personally take your power back and what that actually means. So we can start there. And what does it mean to take your power back? So we've been conditioned in society to outsource our power to other people, especially when we're sick. So we've been taught as a society that when we're sick, we go to the doctor and the doctor's job is to fix us and to fix our problems. And so we often lose all of our autonomy or our sense of self, and we tell them, I'm sick, fix me. And so this is how we've all been conditioned to do things when our bodies don't feel good. And it's not to say this is wrong. We sometimes need to go to the doctor and we need help and we need support. But what often happens in today's medical system and society is we're often left feeling like we're not heard and we're not understood, and we feel helpless and like nobody gets what we're going through and we're not helped. So this creates a power dynamic and it puts us in a place of victimization, which is true. You are a victim of a medical system that does not understand what you're going through. And there's ways we can take our power back and we can shift things to where we stop this dynamic of using our doctor and putting them on a pedestal. So this is one of the first ways we can take our power back is when we're working with any doctors or health professionals or practitioners. We can take our power back by A, advocating for ourselves, and B, it's really important not to rely on a doctor or any practitioner. It's not their job to rescue, fix, or save you. And I think this is a really, really big mindset shift that is deeply conditioned into us as a society, that we think a doctor or any practitioner's job is to rescue and save us. And especially when we're really sick and we're vulnerable and we're looking for answers and we're not getting it, we often are in desperation mode, and then we're left putting these doctors on a pedestal or putting practitioners on a pedestal. And then we end up feeling really frustrated and disappointed when they don't and or can't rescue, save us, whatever. This doesn't mean we don't need them. It doesn't mean we can't get help for our autoimmune symptoms, but it just means that we need to take them off of a pedestal that we've put them on as a society and really start to say, wait a minute, they don't know my body better than I do. I know my body better than they do. And we have been conditioned to believe that they know what's best for us and we know nothing about our bodies. And this creates a power dynamic that is unhealthy, and it creates a codependent, unhealthy relationship with health professionals. And so we really have to take our power back and say, I can take feedback into consideration, but at the end of the day, I'm going to think about what's best for me and for my body. Because doctors, practitioners, at the end of the day, they can be there to help you and to guide you, but you know what's best for your body. And as you navigate life with autoimmune disease, there's going to be things that are recommended to you that are good for your body. There are going to be things that are recommended to you that are not good for your body. And it's up to you to discern which ones feel right and which ones don't feel right. And so it's important to get good support, but it's also important to check in with your own body and to say, does that feel right to me? Does this feel good for me? So really taking people off that pedestal, taking your power back and trusting that you know what's best for your body. Sometimes we need that guidance and support, but at the end of the day, you know what's best too. The second way to take your power back is with yourself and how you identify with your autoimmune disease. When you first start to have symptoms and you're trying to get answers, and then maybe you finally got an answer and you're like, yes, I finally know I have Hashimoto's disease, or I finally know I have rheumatoid arthritis. I finally have an answer. It makes sense now. It can feel really validating at first and being like, okay, I finally know what's wrong with me. And then what can happen after this step is we can start to over-identify with this diagnosis. We can start to become and think that every little symptom we have is because of this diagnosis. And it can start to become who we are as a person. And this can be problematic. And so this is why I work with women with Hashimoto's disease. And I always tell them, you may have this diagnosis, but it's not who you are. It's just a label. It's really just a label. So no matter what label you've been given, whether it's lupus or arthritis or Hashimoto's or whatever label, it's really just a label for physical and emotional inflammation that's stuck in your body. Really important to reframe how we view ourselves with our diagnosis. Really looking at, instead of saying maybe I have fill in the blank with your autoimmune diagnosis, asking the question, tell yourself, my body is seeing things physically and emotionally that it doesn't recognize. Because at the end of the day, that's what's happening. They just all have different names and different terms for things. So really important that we don't over-identify with our diagnosis while it's just can be so validating to finally have an answer as to why you're feeling sick, because our cells can feel that. And when we start to over-identify and say like, I am this diagnosis, then we get into an identity of being sick. And it's really hard to shift into being healthy if we identify with this label. And we are always going to be that sick person if we identify with our diagnosis. A healthy identity is not identifying with any label, any diagnosis, but rather just asking the questions of what is my body seeing that it maybe doesn't like right now? And that can be a healthier perspective and a healthier shift rather than saying, oh no, this is my Hashimoto's happening again, or this is my whatever fill in the blank diagnosis. So really important to shift our identities with our diagnosis because our cells hear everything that we're saying to it. It's really important to reframe it into what is my body seeing right now that it doesn't like. The third way to take your power back with autoimmune disease is around your friends and family. And a lot of times, I know when I was newly diagnosed, started to make dietary changes, I felt really insecure around friends and family that I couldn't eat certain things or that, I had just special dietary needs that other people didn't have. And it can start to feel uncomfortable if you have friends that are not on this healing journey with you, or even family who maybe doesn't quite understand it. And that's okay. Not everybody has to understand all the choices you're making, but part of taking your power back is owning your choices and being confident in them. And it takes practice. And this is gonna take a lot of practice. And the more you do it, the more confident you get around friends and family. So if you're making dietary changes, for example, let's say you're not eating gluten and this is brand new for you, and you're at a family gathering and someone offers you something that you can't eat. It's so easy to go into, I can't have that, right? And that is definitely okay to say, or you just eat it anyway because you don't want to be a burden or feel bad or speak up for your needs, which often happens, right? We just eat it because we want to be nice, but we take our power back when we are confident about our choices with our health and our bodies. And a way we can do that, it matters the way you say things to people because they will treat you with respect the way you treat yourself with respect. So we take our power back and we say, oh, thank you so much for offering that. I feel amazing when I don't eat gluten. Do you have any other options for me? So this could be a reframe of framing it in the positive. Instead of I can't have this, reframing it as I feel so much better when I don't eat this way. And that really psychologically tells the other person like, oh, wow, that's amazing. Let me see what I have for you. Yes, Desiree is saying people treat you the way you treat yourself, 100%. And people pick up on that. Most of the time, people who have autoimmune disease are women. And I think as women, we have to really advocate for our needs and really tune into if a person, a doctor, a relationship, anything doesn't feel right to us, we have to really listen to that and take our power back. And that's how we take our power back, by not going back to doctors that we feel dismissed by not engaging with friends who make us feel horrible, by, not over-identifying with our symptoms and our diagnosis. All of these elements is really how we bring our power back, and we say goodbye to autoimmune disease and hello to a better, healthy life.